acquired Berkeley and some other management. It needs to say Daily Management. It has a different name. Our secretary is not on the board, on the call. Katie, are you able to make
we'll make a note of it, Lance.
Yeah,
Katie can make a note of it. Yep.
Does anybody have any other changes or comments on the meeting minutes?
That was my same comment.
Okay. Okay, great. So we'll move on from that. Actually, I need a motion to approve the minutes.
Motion to approve with the change from Stanley Management to Daily Management in the minutes.
Support.
Great. Okay, that meeting minutes are approved. Next item on the agenda is the elevator ceiling repair.
You need a vote on the motion.
Yep.
Oh, okay.
Just all in favor.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Motion carries.
Yep.
Okay. So elevator ceiling repair, this is different than the elevator repair that we are doing on the two elevators in the main lobby. This is the north elevator, the north tower, the larger elevator that's just by itself. The ceiling of that elevator was damaged when KB Cat 6, the original contractor, was using it. There's the lighting is broken, is out of it. Bottom line is we can't pass inspection until we repair that. So we have a bid, which is a little over $10,000. That's to repair the ceiling of that elevator. So we need board approval for that amount. So I need a motion for the elevator repair.
Motion to approve that amount.
And I'll second it. Any comments on that before we vote? Okay, all in favor? Aye.
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 Any opposed? No. Okay. Next item is GC's bid to repair the drywall on floors 5 and 6. So what happened here is the walls were closed up with drywall before all of the water testing had been done on the pipes. The water had been turned on, but they hadn't run pressure through them. Once we started running pressure through them, there were some leaks. So the drywall that had just been put up, not all of it had to come down, but where they identified moisture from the walls, they had to cut out that drywall, and it now needs to be replaced. That bid came in at $10,156, so we need to approve the excess expenditure. I'll have all the owners note that we have now tested 4, 3, and 2 before that's going to happen, before the walls are going to get closed up. All of the plumbing repair that we found that was needed, and it was a lot, has been done. So, but we need to vote on the estimate to repair the drywall on floors 5 and 6.
Who the hell left the water on?
I need a motion for that.
I make the motion to approve the drywall repair on sections 4, 5, floors 4, 5, and 6.
I'll
And
second.
I'll second it. Okay, great. All in favor? Aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, great. So we have a couple items on the agenda called collections. We're not going to go too deep into that right now because we needed to post a contract from Terry, who's Beachside Recovery, that a lot of you are familiar with. He's done our internal asset recovery collections. But however, Vacatia also has a collections arm, a collections mechanism, and that was mentioned in the last update. So we are in the process of integrating the two of those. Now with Terry, which was Beachside Recovery, who's been with us, we had a contract with them. So we're having to renegotiate that contract since it was a contract of exclusivity. And now that we're going to be handing some accounts over to Vacatia for their collections and their process, we're going to have to renegotiate that. So that's what's on here for the collections and the contract, but we're not ready to vote on the contract yet because Aram hasn't had a chance to review it and we didn't get it posted along with this agenda item. So these are going to be tabled, or the Terry's contract note is going to be tabled for now. Okay, so on to the next one, which is the construction update. Okay, so we passed our fire caulking, fire penetrations is what they call it, on the 4th floor. We passed that on Monday. That means that we need to do finish the drywall repair, which won't take very long, and we're still waiting on the elevator parts. We have some of the elevator parts that are in. We don't have all of them in, and they can't schedule to do the installation until we have all of them. They say they're on schedule, but they haven't given us an estimated delivery date. And that's as much as the construction update. I want to go ahead and open it up to owner questions. I guess we'll use the same method we did before if you want to raise your hand. Katie, if you'll kind of...
Lance, may I interject? So
Sure.
we're having a board meeting, and some of the things I wanted to discuss with the board is what has been going on with the GC with regards to construction. If you recall, that was the main reason why I asked for this board meeting to be called, and now that we sort of have a quorum of the board, since I am tasked with generally sort of speaking with you on issues related to the GC, that's really why I asked for this to be called. Not that I was giving advice, is that we updated our new management, because I haven't spoken to them with regards to GC as well as the other board members, because any action we take with the GC with regards to the liens, I don't want those decisions solely made by the legal representatives of the board. It needs to be a board
I got you. So we can have it like an open discussion. We're not
100%, because we can't do anything outside of a board meeting, so I just
All
want
right.
to
Well, I'm
be
sure
clear.
the owners will appreciate that. So,
Yeah.
and it's very helpful for us, and I hope we use this a lot more because, as y'all all know, we can't have a quorum of board members talking together if it's not a noticed and open meeting for the owners. So we spend
And
a lot
as
of
you know, Lance, you can't take any action. You know, the laws are there to make sure that there are checks and balances, which is why no one person can get upset with Lance or Keith, because the entire board is involved in the discussions regarding the GC, which is why I thought that it was important to have a board meeting to regroup with regards to what's happened. We're coming to the end of the first quarter and really discuss where we're at, discuss what's happening with the liens that are on the property, why we were delayed with finishing this project, how we face those delays, all of the hard work that you, with some other board members, have done so bankruptcy didn't have to be filed. The necessity to really get out there and make sure people are paying their dues so we can get the buildings done. That is the discussion I want you to have with the entire board.
Perfect. Awesome. And I think they will appreciate that. Can we have, Michelle, would you like to give an update on the management transition?
Sure. So from the management side, we have been working diligently with the systems. We are at the point where the new system is going to be stood up, I believe, by the end of this week. There is a communication that is going to be mailed and emailed out to all owners that's going to introduce them to all of the updates they need to know in regards to where they will go to pay maintenance fees, other useful tips that will exist. It'll have some instructive information there. It's also going to talk and address some things that we're looking at doing where we're establishing the different collection processes with Terry, as Lance mentioned before, also looking at how do we handle the deep delinquent owners that exist, what path do we need to take with foreclosure. So a big part of what we're doing initially is we need to bring everybody over into the new system so that we can properly codify where the groups are, your active dues paying owners, and then understand, I know a lot of you on this call, you have the weeks that the board had agreed if you stayed a dues paying owner and were current throughout the close, that there would be weeks that you would get back. We are going to be putting some information around that. We need everything in the new system in order to properly do that. And we're at the point over the last month, we've really worked hard to get all of that loaded. So the transition's going well there. We have had several meetings on the construction side of things, which I know Lance will go into more. And then we'll be working with Keith as we become to the position where we're becoming operational. We need to help staff up, and we need to make sure that the staff is in place prior to opening the doors and welcoming everybody home. So everything is moving forward from the systems and the operations and the management side. All the transitions going very smoothly, and again, you'll get a more detailed communication will be going out. It should drop next week. So again, if you don't have email addresses, please make sure you have your email address on file, and we're going to email that out, and we'll post it on the website as well.
Great, thank you, Michelle. Okay, so back to some of what's been happening with the construction on the resort. So back in prior to December, we actually had a window of opportunity where we thought we could get the partial open done by December, and we really pushed for that so that we would have a full calendar year that was open. Last minute, some of the things fell through. That's when the fire penetrations, the fire caulking came to light that we had to have done on the 4th floor before they would give us the CO for 5, 6, and 7. So we could occupy those spots. Around this time is when we ran into serious financial problems with the association. December was a very, very thin month for the resort, to the point that we had to move paying bills towards the end of the month, or we didn't have enough money to pay to keep the resort open. We would have not paid bills or bounced checks. That's how close we were. That's why when I talked to Aram, and Aram had me include the comment like, hey guys, we might need to start talking to a bankruptcy attorney. So many of y'all reacted to that notification, but again, that was just to be clear of where we were financially. Also around that time is when we realized that we had to fix the elevators. Well, the elevators were $80,000, $40,000 a piece, and they wanted 50% of that up front. We didn't initially have that. Now that's not to compound why there was a delay. We still didn't expect this long of a delay, but we were delayed in placing the order because we just simply did not have the funds in December. So those were a lot of my cries for help, like, please, pay the fees. We're almost there. In the meantime, after that going out, we ended up signing the contract with Vacatia. And this had always been in the works still. It never really fell out of play. We just had a lot of things to put in place. One of those items was Vacatia has their own national contractor, general contractor, in a company called PPD, which is based out of Orlando. Vacatia, being that they are providing the loan to us of $2 million, up to $2 million, would highly prefer that their construction company come in and finish the job, which we didn't have a problem with. Nobody on the board had an issue with that. We don't care who does the work. We just want it done as quick as possible. But then we ran into a problem because the current contractor has the contract with the Maverick to finish.
Lance, we don't need to go into all of those details, unfortunately, with the board. Some of it gets into attorney-client privilege, which is why I'm on the phone to just kind of help direct you. Okay. So essentially, the reason that there were some issues with potentially agreeing to utilization of what was suggested by Vacatia was it could potentially put the Maverick in legal liability. There could have been a potential for the GC to file additional liens, potentially sue us for breach of contract, all of which was threatened by their counsel. So although a great suggestion, it was wonderful for management. It was an ability to get us, because the whole goal, I think, is what you're trying to convey to the board. The entire goal was to get the building done. New management's role through Vacatia was to get the building going so our owners could get here and enjoy the property. However, we have a signed contract with the GC. GC hired counsel, and we'd been negotiating through my law firm and GC's counsel, Frank Rapparich, release of liens, as well as they threatened if we went with a new building contractor, they would sue us for the entirety of the contract. So therefore, I had a conversation with the legal reps, kind of explain all the liabilities and issues that could come from us just going with and utilizing a whole new contractor. Off of that conversation, I believe Lance had a conversation with Vacatia, and things now we all seem to be on the same page. I would prefer, if any of that has to do with legal implications in what I'm handling with Frank, we keep that sort of privileged at this get-go. However, my understanding is that you all are in negotiations with the GC currently to have the liens released. You guys are in discussions for the building to be done and building to be done in a time period where time is of the essence, understanding that if the GC doesn't complete the work, we may go after them for damages, because every day that the building's not done, Maverick is sustaining damages. And those are the things that are kind of still in the works, is my understanding, where all of us are trying to catch up with one another because things are moving rather quickly.
Yes, thank you, Aaron. So let me tell you guys where we're at now in the whole board. We had a meeting this week where we talked with Vacatia and said, look, we need to, based off of Aaron's advice and what we know, we need to go ahead and let our contractor finish the job, which he's always been willing to do. There's no adversity going on between us. We just didn't have the funds to keep him going. So we came to an agreement that GC, Glenn, our contractor, is going to continue working on the building under his contract, and PPD, Vacatia's contractor, is going to become the project manager oversight of the remainder of the contract for the work. So we actually had an in-person meeting at the Maverick between PPD and Glenn. Joe was there with myself, and they talked through the logistics of that. So PPD
Did they
is
give
going.
you any kind of timeline, Lance, as to
Yes.
what? Okay, good.
They were supposed to meet today. They were flying in a project manager from North Carolina. His flight got bumped, so now they're meeting again on Tuesday. Michelle, I know I asked you for a few things today. Zane is supposed to be putting an agreement together that he was hoping to have by Friday, tomorrow.
Maybe for the purposes of the rest of the board and myself, who is Zane?
That
PPD.
Zane is with PPD, Aram.
And PPD, obviously, these are all acronyms that you guys know so well.
No, PPD is the name of the company. That is their name. It's PPD. They're a construction company that is nationwide, and they're bringing somebody in who is going to be the project manager to ensure the quality of the work as well as
Perfect.
the timeliness of delivery.
So, and then PPD, whoever's going to come and oversee this, obviously holds a Florida GC license or engineer
Yes.
license or something. Wonderful. And then, Michelle, are you going to be working with Zane and Lance and Keith? Who is Zane going to report to?
Zane reports to Scott Weber, who is our head of hospitality at Vacatia.
Okay, and then how does that go down the line so that somebody will be giving consistent reports with regards to the construction project when we hold these wonderful board meetings?
That'll be happening with Zane and Scott in conjunction with Lance.
Okay, so our next board meeting, when we have an update on the construction project, who will provide, would it be better to invite Zane to these board meetings and he give the construction update in case there's
We can have somebody give the construction update that would be able to answer questions intelligently to it.
All right,
That's more
fantastic.
involved.
I think that's wonderful. Okay.
That would be great.
So Zane is PPD. Michelle, Lance, and Keith are going to be kind of part of the team for the construction. And then we'll have like monthly or every 6 weeks, 8 weeks reports to the board.
Yes.
Yes, and we also, Vacation also has a gentleman named Rocky who's on the call also, who sits in between us and Scott Weber, who's based out of New Orleans. Rocky's close, he's in West Volusia. So he's our immediate contact, our boots on the ground.
So I have another sort of technical question, Lance and Michelle. Who signed a contract by and between association and PPD to do and provide these oversight services?
We haven't signed that yet. That's being prepared, and we should have it tomorrow. You
Who
will
is that
review
being
it.
prepared by?
We asked about, you asked me about that yesterday, and I said you'll be reviewing it once I get it.
Beautiful.
It's being prepared by PPD. The meeting was just yesterday where they came to agreement, which is why I haven't seen it yet.
And I'm only asking these questions because we're having a board meeting. Might as well ask the questions now. No offense to anybody if my tone sounds like I'm cross-examining. I'm really not. Okay, so just because, like, remember when he was saying about Terry's High, I'm not remembering everybody's names. There's lots going on. There's lots going on just at Maverick alone. So the next little bit before PPD starts working with GC to oversee the project, we have to review the contract. Now, Michelle, tell me, and Lance, since you guys are going to be paying for PPD, you're sort of requiring this oversight, which I think is a phenomenal idea. And let's tell the board why since you guys are funding, so here's the deal, how I understand it. You all are funding us to pay GC so we get this project done. And since you're financing this and you had some issues, you didn't come out of the blue and say, hey, we want to use our own contractor. You had some heartburn over some of the work quality that you saw and the delays and some of the issues that were had in the contract that we kind of discussed and had to make a cost benefit analysis of where to go. But that is why Vacatia somewhat insisted that we had an engineer/contractor oversee the work of GC.
That is correct. And with a key part being, there was a big concern over time delivery.
Got it.
Because again, we're still closed, right? So, and that is, and PPD is, we've worked with them on a lot of projects where it's all about time delivery and delivering within budget.
Wonderful. So this should be great. Like they're here to kind of put the whip to GC. So is that contract going to be buy-in between Maverick and PPD with you guys guaranteeing it as Vacatia? The only reason why I ask all these questions, and the board needs to know, I don't want another contract out there whereby Maverick is somehow responsible for paying for something we can't pay for.
I don't know the answer, Aram. I need to get involved because, again, the meeting was just yesterday. So I'll find out and I'll circle back and report to the board.
Okay. Well, and more so me, so I understand kind of what the agreement of those terms were before I reviewed the contract.
Yep, absolutely.
Yep.
All right. Wonderful.
So yes, and that contract is between PPD and the Maverick, not with GC.
No, I understand that, but remember, Maverick is going to be on the hook for a contract that we don't have funds yet to pay. I don't want us to have, like, I would love if Vacatia's paying for it. We need to kind of tie that together because unfortunately, unless Vacatia hands us all of the funds, we have a collections problem that we're going to get into that is very concerning to me. We can barely make ends meet right now. We are not
I'm pretty sure, Aaron, the way it's going to be set up is that the funds for PPD would come out of the $2 million loan ultimately to the resort, just as part of the draw, the same way that Glenn's draw schedule would be adhered to for drawing out funds for the construction needs.
The purposes of a conversation, Lance, here's where, like, when we as Maverick said, hey, we need $2 million to operate, correct? With everything that you and Keith and the board had estimated. I don't know how much PPD is costing. I am sure they're wonderful, but I am sure they cost a pretty penny if they're as good as you say. I've seen sort of the cost for oversight. Do we have any concerns if the two, and something for you as the new manager, Michelle, to just kind of consider on behalf of Maverick, if we are also paying for somebody that we had not truly anticipated to pay for when we first asked for the $2 million, is that something we need to dig into a little bit more? Because I don't know if it's 100,000, I don't know if it's 50 grand, I don't know how much it is.
It should not be an issue, but Lance, go ahead.
Yeah.
No, I was going to say that's the one thing that we're waiting for also is what's the number going to be tagged to that?
Got it.
Because I don't have a clue either. Yeah, I'm sure
It's
it's not going
something
to
that
be.
you're considering, like what I'm saying
Yeah.
out loud. You're like, oh, thank you, Aaron. We are also considering that and discussing that with the board, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's why you'll get it. You'll get the terms of that once I receive it, of their proposal to us.
Fantastic. Go on.
Go on.
Yeah.
Okay. So I think that's some really good news. Again, we just put all that in place. Just this week, we're talking it out. Does any of the board have any questions on what we've been discussing?
No, pretty clear to me.
Wonderful. Amy, any questions?
No, I'm good. I'm following and everything is, I'm understanding and we'll look for those contracts and see what we're looking at.
I'm clear on it also.
Fantastic.
Yeah, and I guess just to add for the owners who are on the call, once we have clear defined dates of when we are looking at being able to confirm a true opening date based on PPD working with GC, we will diligently be reaching out to owners of those weeks to try to confirm them coming in, et cetera. So we are on top of that. We're just in a waiting game, waiting until the elevator parts are in so the elevators can get repaired and we know when we can open 5, 6, and 7.
So Michelle, I mean, waiting for the contracts is one thing. Getting PPD involved is one thing. Truly, let's say we took that all out of the equation. Is there even anything that GC could be doing right now that helps us open?
They are going to be repairing the drywall, as Lance mentioned earlier, but the real waiting game is waiting on the remaining elevator parts and then scheduling that repair. But anything else on 5, 6, and 7 that's needed to be done should be done before those elevator repairs are done, so that when we have the elevator date and their finish date, that should give us our opening
So
date.
truly,
for those floors.
PPD and signing these contracts isn't causing any sort of delay? No.
No.
Fantastic.
I would like for things to be moving ahead. I would like for Glenn to be able to start with his. In fact, they were going to meet today. They'll meet again on Tuesday with laying out the plan, which Glenn already has a plan. He had it, a schedule from before. It's going to have to be adjusted for timelines, but as long as funding isn't an issue, we think we can burn through what's left pretty quickly.
And what's interesting is what has Glenn said about the release of the liens. I personally don't even believe that the liens have been recorded in a proper manner because they didn't attach to any unit. They're attached to common areas. It just would have been interesting, though, had we hired a new contractor, how that would have affected any new permits because there were liens on the property. But where are we with regards to that?
Well, and you're right, it would have made things messier. That's why it was proper
Imperative.
advice to go back to him. But I've talked to Glenn about those. Now, they're not, the liens that he filed them because of lien laws, and there's a certain amount of time that
But
you
they still have to be proper.
Yes, you're correct, and that's for you guys to figure out. But the liens are not, they're for work that's been done that he still needs to be compensated for, but it's part of a bigger project. For example, the painting of the whole building, I'm just going to give a rough number, is $300,000. Well, out of that $300,000, there are increments where he gets paid up to a certain percentage of completion. So one of the liens is he believes he's at 50%, and we're not going to split hairs on it, that he is expecting to be, have another drop of money to cover that milestone, and we haven't paid him that yet. So it's money that we still owe. We're not debating that we owe it. It's just while we're in the process of getting the financing and how we were going to work things out with PPD, we just haven't paid that. And to protect his rights, he filed a lien. So it's not anything that we're really contesting. There's a little bit of some of the numbers that we're not agreeing with, but it's negligible amount. So when you hear that there's liens on the property, remember, that's what it is. Everyone understand?
Yep.
Yeah, yeah.
So none of the board
Absolutely.
members have any questions related to the liens or any disputes concerning GC or how, finishing out the project?
No, I understand it pretty well.
Good.
Yeah, I'm good on it. I just want this to flip and hurry up and happen.
Lance, would now be a good time? I thought of another thing. I wanted to give the board an update with what's going on with the lawsuit that was filed by the storage unit company. So I am also taking care of that. I filed what is called a motion to dismiss to their unright case. Their own contract called for mediation if any dispute were had. I believe we've got very strong defenses. We sent them a letter stating what our defenses were. I filed the motion to dismiss. I am now in correspondence with their counsel. We are going to schedule a mediation, and that mediation needs to be had within 45 days. Pursuant to my motion to dismiss, they filed a stay with the court. We are going to do that mediation with Brooks Casey. Some dates were sent to me today, and let's see where we fall with regards to that. And obviously, we're going to have Keith and Lance as the representatives at the mediation. We'll probably have another board meeting with regards to settlement authority and what settlement authority you'll have, and have the board sort of chime into that before we have the mediation. Otherwise, then I'm going to have the entire board present at the mediation.
Yeah, and Aaron, I'm going to give the owners an update on that, and stop me if I cross into where I shouldn't be talking. So what had happened, if everyone remembers, we moved everything from pods to a store to a warehouse because it saved us a lot of money every month. Well, when Hurricane Milton came, the warehouse partially flooded, some of it flooded. And they asked us to move all of our stuff out so that they could have workers come in and tear out the drywall and replace it. So we did that. We moved it out, and I know Keith's on the call. He's under the weather, but it was for a couple of weeks. We had to find a temporary holding place for our stuff, and then we moved it back in, all at our own expense. Well, the warehouse company then came back and said, no, we actually still need to get back in there, so you need to move your stuff out again. And it's going to take even longer this time before you can move it back. So we asked them, we said, well, then you guys pay for it, because we've already done this once. And they said, well, we'll do it for you, but we're going to charge you to do it. So at that point, we said, no. We looked through the contract and saw that there's performance-based criteria that we don't feel that they've met. And so we canceled the contract. They turned around and put a lawsuit on us. So that's what Aaron was talking about. And as you all are very aware, I signed a personal guarantee for that warehouse space. So technically I'm on the hook for it too. So don't say I don't love the Maverick.
True. Any questions for me that I might be able to answer? Obviously, I have to be very careful how I answer it. There is a current lawsuit, and this is an open board meeting, and I have to be careful to preserve the attorney-client privilege.
Hey,
But I am happy to answer questions that I'm able to. Wonderful. No
I don't
questions?
have any. No.
Fantastic.
I'm good.
And then
No,
just
it's
for
fine.
the board to know, you guys have designated Lance as the legal representative. I believe you're the only legal rep, Lance. Therefore, we have conversations about the lawsuit. I have told him, as far as giving updates to the rest of the board, I'd like to do so just because it's ongoing litigation. I am sure I'll have to keep management somewhat in the loop with regards to it, but right now we're sort of in a standstill, and like I said, we'll have another board meeting as far as settlement authority. Okay?
All right, thank you. Aaron, can I open it up to our,
What else was on the
Wonderful.
agenda? Are we missing anything else?
no, that's
Or
it.
do-
We wanted to
I mean-
have the meeting and discuss, kind of what's going on. You know,
Yeah,
as
that's
you
everything
mentioned.
that was on the agenda, Aaron. We went through the whole
Yeah.
agenda.
You're opening it up to board questions because it's a board meeting?
Do you mean internally, or, we were gonna take questions from the owners?
On the agenda items or just general questions?
On the agenda items.
Sure, I mean,
Which construction is on there.
you guys might be on here for 2 hours. Yes, sure. Go ahead.
Kelly, you have your hand
I
raised.
just can't be on for another
Yep.
hour. That's all.
Yep.
Yeah, I
Kelly
know
has her
that's
hand
right
raised.
there.
Go ahead and unmute her, Katie.
Already done.
Hey guys, favorite owner here, I know. Hey, in regards to the collections from Vacatia, just the mechanism in place with Vacatia, and then regarding Terry's contract, and Lance mentioned having to reevaluate or reapproach Terry's contract, can you explain why we would continue a contract with Terry if we have a mechanism in place with Vacatia, why we would use both?
And can I just make one statement, Kelly, before Lance answers? I think he sent me the contract like a day ago. So much has been going on. It's been a very busy time. I want to review the terms of that contract to see, hey, can we terminate it? What are we paying? I think I need to actually have a conversation with the board before we renegotiate any terms so the board fully understands legal obligations, rights, responsibilities, and maybe what the best thing to do is in the circumstance. I will admit, maybe I dropped the ball on this just because I got it a day or so ago and I didn't see the agenda. I didn't realize it was an agenda item or its urgency. I personally, Lance, I'm happy with you to give your thoughts. However, I would love to kind of look at this with you, with Michelle and Keith, and come up with a plan. I'm not sure I'm going to agree with what Lance says. Yeah.
Sure you will.
From a
Okay, Kelly?
business and legal perspective.
Yes, Kelly, I can answer that for you. So, and I agree, at first we were going down that road, we're just gonna turn everything over to Vacation side of things. There started to be some concern because we've been down the road before with a collections company, and Vacation has a third-party collections company that works very similarly. They're very aggressive. They charge above and beyond into the 30% range of a late fee, a late penalty, and we thought that. Okay, so let me put it another way. Terry out collects the collection companies. We voted back in last year that we would reevaluate our finances in the third quarter of this year to determine whether we needed to do a special assessment or not. We don't want to do that. So bottom line is, if I say we need $1 million, Terry go get it, or is it Meridian? Meridian go get it. Terry will get us the $1 million quicker, even though we have to, and we're negotiating his percentage down from what it is. So that's kind of the reason why we wanted to do that. Terry's very good at what he does.
Also, he's not as expensive, isn't that correct, Lance?
Well, with Vacation, we end up being 100% whole. If $1,000 is owed, they'll collect $1,300 and they'll keep the $300 and we'll get the $1,000. The problem is when people know that they owe $1,000 and then they got a collections company calling them saying you owe us $1,300, plus a late fee plus interest, then they throw their hands up and they say, you know what, I'm not paying anything. So what we're structuring with Terry's contract is that the owners that aren't as late, that are 2 years or less, that Terry can still do a softer collection on those accounts. Because we didn't want to punish the owners also that have stayed with us. They're still staying current or will stay current, but they haven't been able to use the facility for 2, some of them for 3 years. So I didn't want to take that more aggressive approach for those owners. So we were kind of putting time frames around it. Anything over 2 years would go to vacation. Anything over 2 years and anything that Terry just felt like he wasn't going to be able to work would go to vacation. Does that answer your question, Kelly?
Yeah, enough, yep.
Is anyone else? I don't see any other hands up.
No, I don't either.
Not seen any.
Motion to adjourn.
I second it.
Okay, guys. Well, thank
All
you very
in favor?
much. I hope that
Aye.
Aye.
Motion
No, I'm
carries.
opposed. I want to keep talking.
You're in the minority.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you all. I hope that gave you some a little bit of information. And like I said, once we get the